Coden? Lomac? Are we talking about Lomac in here?
Start your sublight engines. It's time for RuPaul's Pod Race, a queer Star Wars podcast. Welcome to our High Republic Phase 1 Roundup episode. This episode will contain spoilers for everything in the entire High Republic so far, so be warned. My name is Klaudia. My pronouns are she, her. You can find me on social media at Klaudia says, K-A-L-U-D-I-A says. My High Republic gender of the week is manga Stellan Gios. Sitting in a chair like a thought. Every time they draw that man and the edge of balance, I cannot stop thinking about it for 2 weeks. So I'm obsessed with him.
My name is Jess. I use they, them pronouns. You can find me on TikTok and Twitter at Kawaii Jessio. And my gender this week is running off into the woods like Comic Vitus.
My name is Noah. My pronouns are he, him. You can find me on social media at the Jewish Jedi. And my gender this week is, oh no, the Starlight Beacon fell on its taint.
Hi, my name is Mel. I use they, them pronouns. You can find me on social media at Melvin Culpa and on TikTok at Grunkle Rex. My gender this week is getting leveled because after this episode comes out, I am taking a social media hiatus until April. So, teehee.
That was an interesting way to announce your sabbatical.
Yeah, where else the fuck am I supposed to say it?
My name is Ollie. I use any pronouns. You can find me on social media at Ollie Fresh. It's fresh with a PH. And my gender this week is Elzar, Mann, or Muppet. And the reason for that is that I feel like if the High Republic was going to be played by Muppets, like if they were going to make a Muppet adaptation of the High Republic, I do unfortunately feel like Elzar would have to be a human just because it would be so distressing to see a Muppet in his situation. I think everyone else I could be like, I could see Kermit doing that, but not Elzar.
I agree.
POV, he kills Muppet Chancey.
Not to go back to what you just said, but I do need to unpack real quick because while I tend to agree with you that Elzar Mann would be the human person in a Muppet flick, I would like to suggest that Buryaga is not like a traditional Muppet. I do believe just him would be good.
Yeah. That's powerful.
I don't disagree. I'm open to interpretation. I am simply saying that maybe it's less that I couldn't see a Muppet playing the role that Elzar Mann plays, and more that I would be haunted by it.
Consider Stellan Gios is the only human, and then we do have to watch Elzar Mann the Muppet kill someone. And I think that'd be pretty wild.
I mean, I think that's funny, but my only problem is I think Kermit would be perfect as Stellan.
No, points have been made.
It's like easy being green, but it's Stellan Gios. That's very powerful.
Yeah.
May I propose Marcion Rowe is the only living human in the non-Muppet universe? Perhaps Lorna D. Actually, okay, wait, hear me out on this.
Actually, what if it was being the only human is actually very powerful.
I love.
Hear me out.
Did you just call him Marchand?
Yeah,
I said Marcion.
Marcion. Hello, it is me, Marcion Rowe.
Pack it up, loaded.
Free my girl Loden Greatstorm. Anyway, alternatively,
They did Into the Fucking Wind.
I'm feeling sexy and free. Like ashes raining on me.
This is just
You're
like
done.
a Pretty Little Liars recap video.
You're done. Later on, we're going to get into some listener questions, but one of the listener questions is actually how we wanted to start off today from at MeBeThem4815, which is, why should I read these books? And I know we've gotten into this a little bit in our last full High Republic episode, but for those listening who might have tuned in and maybe haven't read all of them or anything, why should people read these books?
I think that you should read the High Republic because for me, it's the most interesting part of Star Wars. I think that it is so removed from the rest of the Skywalker saga, or the Skywalker saga in general, not the rest of it, that it just totally puts the universe in something of a different perspective. I like the little breadcrumbs that are being spread through the story of we will unpack this later in A New Hope or The Rise of Skywalker. But that's a secret for later, and none of these characters will be alive to see it, except for maybe, I don't know,
Yarrow.
Worry. Not Yarrow. He
I mean,
fucking died.
canonically not.
Yeah, he does unfortunately not make it. R.I.P. Fly High Angel, you will be missed.
His neck looked crazy in Eye of the Storm 2. Like, crazy.
There's a shot of him like peering over the corner of one of the panels, and I do think about him all the time now, just sort of like, hey, like crawling over a bookshelf of some kind. Side note, do you guys think he would slither places?
No, we've
You're
seen
not.
him
No,
walk.
He has feet.
Okay, I'm not
done.
saying no. My proposal is not that he cannot walk. It's that do you think maybe he chooses not to occasionally?
No. Because what you are suggesting is Yarrow Poof is doing like the worm on the ground, and no.
Yeah.
Yarrow Poof is like,
Exactly.
I've got to bust down right now.
I think he'd slither more like a desert sand snake, like sort of like side to side, and just like sort of go across the floor.
Okay, so you have proposed like rattlesnake Yarrow Poof.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe he gyrates his head like a tail.
Anyways, I think people should read The High Republic because I think it's the most Star Wars-y. I know Mal almost kind of just said the exact opposite of what I'm about to say, but like it is, even though like none of the characters you know are here or whatever, it is the most Star Wars-y thing that they could have put out. Like, yes, it is different, whatever, but it's like if you want different shit in space, you can read any other type of science fiction. It's out there for you. And sometimes people are like, I want this in Star Wars, I want that in Star Wars, and I'm like, that's great, and that I love it. However, in Star Wars, I am here for the voom voom of the Jedi and the lightsaber. And they do, that is what this is about. And they are like, yeah, you're here for that magic. And that's why it's the most Star Wars-y as it can get. And it kind of reminds you why you like it, whoever the characters are, and why it's magical. And it kind of reinforces for you why it's magical no matter what characters you're playing with. If you like the world of Star Wars and like what Star Wars specifically is different to other things, you know, if you want hard science fiction, go somewhere else.
What's nice is that it's refreshing because we get to see an entirely different world. I mean, it's the same world as the rest of Star Wars, but it feels a lot different and it feels a lot more, it feels lived in a different way. But I think that it also really embodies the idea of what Star Wars is, like Klaudia was saying. Like, there are a lot of moments where, while we don't have any of the same characters, save like Yoda and our bestie Yarrow Poof, but we still get a lot of the overarching themes. Like, there is a really strong theme of like having hope and having faith and connections with those around you while not trying to, you know, possess them and not control other people, as well as like the concept of like, you know, obviously light versus dark and what does it mean to be a part of an order of something bigger than yourself. There's all that stuff. So the reason that people like Star Wars is present without a lot of the baggage that comes with the time periods that we know.
I would also say the thing about this section of Star Wars and the fact that the medium they've chosen to do it in is books is that you spend a significantly more amount of time with all the characters. So they actually feel developed. Hot take incoming. I feel that much of Star Wars character development is actually just extrapolation on the part of people who like the characters in question. And as a result, a lot of them are underdeveloped in the media that they're actually like a part of, whereas the High Republic doesn't really face that problem because there's so much time spent with each individual. And like the setting is cool. It's new. It's a fun time. It's not just 4 white people against the world, which is also nice. It's very Yas and Slay to me.
I think for people who like the Clone Wars and that it was like, I got to dig in deep to one era, or I got to spend time with a certain number of characters, or like, when you think about like, oh, why is Ahsoka everybody's favorite character? I'm like, because you get to spend a lot of time with her, like more than Luke Skywalker or whatever, then you're gonna like the High Republic. Also, I think if you like the Old Republic for that same reason, you know, it's a totally different time period, but you get to spend a lot of time with it and explore out and you know, spend some time with the characters, especially because you're playing in a game with them for so long, whatever. I think you're gonna like this too for the same reason.
Because this is like the stories being told for like the High Republic stuff is like very ensemble, like heavy, where it's not just like, oh, here's the main character and their besties who sometimes appear. It's like really focuses on like all these characters, where it switches off between like, oh, here's this person's POV or here's this person's POV. One's a very interesting way to tell a story, and then two, there is like a lot of characters to pick from to be like, oh yeah, I really vibe with this person, or I really like this character. And it isn't all just, no offense to the Skywalker trilogies, but it isn't just like I am your average white person and the hero. There is a lot of diversity in the High Republic. I feel like that's also why a lot of people like it too. It's because you can find a character that's like, oh, that's just like me. And it's also, there's lots of new fun alien characters too, which we didn't really get a lot of focus on, like the cool epic aliens before, because again, the main characters were always white people. But and not only are they like diverse because they're like people who are not white, and there's also people who are not human, but it's also like there's canonical queer people in the High Republic. So we win, LGBT. Let's go.
I completely agree with you, Jess. I think that like also the authors are not like afraid to pull punches and like talk about real shit, and it just like, I don't know, it feels meaningful. And like in universe, not only does it have like repercussions for then and now, but like in the future. And I really appreciate that. It was funny you said that like, yeah, the Skywalker saga is like, save for like Finn and Poe in the sequels, all white people. I find it very funny because I was thinking about, okay, like what High Republic characters like do I really like relate and connect to? Honesty Weft is one of my glove shitters of this book series. He has been in 2 books now. He is fully like 13 years old, and he's a little white boy. You could not have told me in a million years that like that character would have spoken to me. Having, you know, consumed the rest of Star Wars, I'd been like, no, fuck you, I've not really ever related to any of the main characters of the other trilogies, besides like these like feelings of like Obi-Wan, I guess, is relatable to some sense, even though I don't famously really give a shit about him. Yeah, it is a really wild west of relatable characters.
This is for the Filoni fans out there who love seeing Order 66 8 million times, but if you read the High Republic and then just think about Order 66 or like watch it again, it hurts so much more. Reading these books, you're like, oh no, this is somehow it's gotten more sad.
If you like the feeling of being hurt and sad from Order 66, there's a lot of being hurt and sad in the High Republic also, especially with that final wave for Phase 1. There's a whole lot of, wow, now I am sad. Thanks, Luminous authors, for doing that to us.
That is something that I kind of want to talk about. If we move away a little bit like from our pitch, one thing that I kind of want to talk about is we did get early review copies of The Fallen Star. At least I did. I got a physical copy. I think I was the first one of our squad to get it. I got it on Christmas Eve when I got home from work. I read the first half, and then I read the second half on Christmas when I had like just gotten home from visiting family. And I tell you, I was a mess. I was a hot mess, and I couldn't say anything to anyone because the book was not out and no one else I knew had finished it. So I had to sit there knowing in my heart that we had lost all of my special little guys, because I have famously said some of my top 3 High Republic characters before The Fallen Star were Orla, Nib, and Stellan. And we lost all of those bitches in that book. I was having a horrible time, and I couldn't say anything.
Fuck Ollie in particular.
No, literally, she said, you know what would be really funny? You know whose day I'm gonna ruin? One of the reasons that Noah and Jess did find out, they found out what happened at the end of the book before the book came out, because we decided to watch Encanto together. And at the end, when Mirabella's like a perfect constellation, like she's talking about constellations, I fully did just start sobbing because I was thinking about Stellan.
And Mel were like crying, and me and Noah were just like, wow, this is a fun movie.
Yeah,
Also, I had COVID at this point, so I was literally half dead and had like I think I had a fever of like 103 while this movie was happening.
yeah.
And Ollie was like, "Sorry, I'm emotional." And I was like, "Can you just like Jess and I were like, can you just tell us what happens in this book like right now?" And then we sat there while they talked at us with occasional interruptions from Mel of like, "Here's the plot of the Fallen Star."
Yeah, so I chose to not read it because I usually read them as audiobooks, and we hadn't gotten the audiobook one yet, but also we only had a certain number of the hard copies, and I didn't want to know. And I also waited to watch Encanto, and I watched it with my family. So you guys, I had not only not seen Encanto, but I also hadn't read The Fallen Star, and you guys were constantly talking about Encanto. And I felt like I was living on another planet for like 2 weeks. And I was like, what the fuck are you people talking about? So when I finally did, and then you guys were like, oh yeah, and the lyrics and whatever. And then I got the last scene in Encanto, like the lyrics connect to The Fallen Star. I had like a mental breakdown. I had a delayed mental breakdown. And that is when I stayed up for like 3 days straight making like a 15-hour-long Fallen Star playlist.
I generally am the person in this group who reads everything last. And as a result, what I will do is I will basically live text what I'm reading to the group at large. Doing that with Midnight Horizon, I believe I was only texting Mel for a time, and then I was like, okay, everyone else has read it. However, I would literally just text them in all caps. I was like, what? And I would keep reading for 20 minutes. I read half that book in like 4 days, and then I got to the halfway point and I was like, I can't stop. And then I read it for the next uninterrupted several hours and finished it. And I was quite emotional. And I don't cry at books. I should note that. However, Reed Silas getting knighted, something shifted. Something in the universe was irrevocably altered in that moment, and I can never return to it.
I do think I was the last one to finish reading Midnight Horizon. I do fully remember a few weeks ago when I did finish, I was driving home listening to the audiobook at the end of Midnight Horizon, and I was fully having like a mental breakdown in my car at the end.
I cry at lots of media, but I haven't cried at a book or a comic in a long time. The thing that actually made me cry was actually a comic, which I have been reading a lot of the comics because like while this was while I was catching up on the entire High Republic to catch up with all of you guys, I was also trying to get through the entire like current Marvel, Star Wars, Vader, Aphra, all of that run, so I would be caught up. And I was almost caught up, but I wasn't. There was an issue where in the preview they were like, Luke Skywalker is going to meet Elzar Mann, and that was also Elzar Mann's first like visual appearance. Like his first visual appearance was in the main Star Wars run. It was not in the High Republic run. And Elzar Mann, I'm obsessed with him, and so I was like, huh, what? And this comic, and I believe it was the High Republic Adventures one. It was one with Lula and Zine that made people go insane. It came out right before that one horrible episode that we don't talk about of the Book of Boba Fett. So we're really taking you inside baseball right now. That evening, the emotions of that evening was a roller coaster because we read that High Republic Adventures, and then I read it's the one issue Star Wars number 20, which you can kind of read if you don't know what else is going on, where basically Luke, he's, I believe this is at this point this was between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. He is searching for clues about the Jedi, whatever, and he gets a holocron or whatever of Yoda basically saying, hey, there's vergences in the Force in all these different places, and there's this one that basically is full of hallucinogenic mushrooms. It's kind of insane, but basically you go there and like if you've been there, like a remnant of your memories stays there. So he doesn't actually meet Elzar, but he meets like what Elzar was at the time that he arrived there, and he has a conversation with Elzar Mann that it hit me at a time in my life that I needed to hear. I cried for 3 hours straight about like 3 panels in that one comic, and I was like, I'm forever changed as a person. The crux of it was basically Elzar being like, hey, you know, the Jedi are not the only game in town, and you don't have to be a Jedi, but if you want to, we're all here for you. Yeah, it broke me as a person. And also, like, there were other people in the panels, whatever. But yeah, I guess now we're all just talking about what parts of the High Republic, like, broke us emotionally.
Well,
but
I
that
was
the
fine.
one.
I was never upset once. And but I also do, just very quickly, I do want to touch on Elzar Mann. Let me change how I said that.
Love of my life.
I want to talk about Elzar Mann. Let's make that abundantly clear. We are
don't
talking.
Talk about Elzar.
So my thing is that I like other people to tell me how to think on media, because a lot of the times I will miss like subtext, or I won't be entirely sure if something was explicit or implied, like or if it was just like something that I thought, or if it was actually what was there. But something that I got at the end of the book, I was like, somebody tell me how I'm supposed to feel about Elzar Mann, because right now he and I have got beef. I was genuinely like, for a couple days after I finished The Fallen Star, I was like, Elzar Mann is the real enemy of the High Republic. I hate Elzar Mann so much. Like, I got mad just thinking about him. And I'd see on Twitter people talking about him before they had read The Fallen Star. And I was like, and I do want to also disclaimer. Obviously, now I've had time to digest it. I think that a lot of Elzar's purpose in the book is to be like, we see it talked about all the time, but recovery is not linear. He is going through something and he had a moment, and that happens. And it's really interesting to see it adapted to media, because it's not a story that we see all the time, especially not in Star Wars. It's not a super common thing. That being said, I do have a couple gripes with how that played out as a whole, but that's more with the book in general than it is with like just Elzar.
I think my initial running to Elzar's defense was towards the fact that I did not like Chancey as a mother, and I might have some baggage there. And I was like, well, she made weapons that people use to kill a lot of people, and she was also kind of a manipulative ass of a mother, so she can go fuck herself.
Oh my God, the Tony Stark-ification of Chancey.
The Howard Stark-ification of Chancey Yarrow. I was kind of like, not to put on my own baggage, but she passed away.
No, but I think that's like to the credit of The Fallen Star is that, like, and not just The Fallen Star, but like the High Republic in general, it creates these characters that are complicated, and like it is something to parse of like, yes, Chancey Yarrow was a really shitty mom, and to some degree she felt bad about that, and like to what she was willing to do to like repair that harm, or like what she assumed how easily it would to repair that relationship, knowing Sylvester Yarrow, she would have never. She would have been like, fuck you, Chancey, I'm not doing this. But now, like, it's the never having the chance to. That is something that Sylvester is going to have to carry with her. And, like, hopefully someday if we see her again, we'll get to unpack that. But I just think that these books have really, like, created these very nuanced characters, or at least characters with, like, lots of layers. And that's something I really like. I'm curious to know, what is everyone's favorite High Republic character?
I can shoot from the hip. Mine's is Vern, because I think she is probably, I said this on like my TikTok too. Well, not said, but I used that like one sound for my top 7 like Jedi or whatever the fuck that was. But I think just overall, Vernestra Rowe is like now my favorite Star Wars character. She's just so put together. I don't know, something about Vern hits differently than like everyone else. And I have said this a million times, and I'll continue to say it, but I think that if Vernestra Rowe was alive in the prequels, she could have stopped him. She could have stopped Sheev Palpatine. She would have said, hey, Anakin, don't hang out with this creepy old man. It's weird that he wants to be your friend and you are a child. I know she's going through a lot too, and I hope she's okay. Fucking High Republic authors, where is she? But she got knighted at 15, which we love a girl boss, and then had a Padawan at 16. So she is just the best little Jedi ever. Vern, I wish I was you. You're cool and you're epic. And if anyone insults Vernestra, I question your taste because she's the best.
So true.
Don't skip the middle grade books because then you don't get to have fun with
The
Mr.
middle grade
Rowe.
books are actually like some of my favorite books.
They are so good, genuinely. Especially I know Mission to Disaster just came out very recently, the print edition. It is one of my favorite middle grade books and probably in my top 5 High Republic books in general. It is so good. Justina, you are an icon.
Test of Courage is kind of off the wall, so good. Like, because that's like one of the first. I was reading them in order. That was like the first one that I like. When it's like, yeah, it was like Light of the Jedi, and then Into the Dark, and then Test of Courage, and I was like, whoa, what's happening here with Test of Courage? Justina Ireland, I'm obsessed with you.
It touches on some like really heavy shit for a middle grade novel. Like a lot of characters die, and like it is Vern, Imri, Honesty, and Avon unpacking that. And Avon's like, I'm fine because I'm a girl boss. Fuck you guys. But Imri and Honesty have like this very challenging thing, and it's very different for them because one of them is just a little boy whose dad passed away, and one is Imri, who is force sensitive and like is like, what if I like got into the dark side?
No, but that was why Jess is correct. That is why I think that Vern could have stopped Anakin becoming Vader, because she stopped Imri, and she stopped Imri by just being like, stop that. Like me with my cat, like, get off the table. Enough.
I really do think that's what Obi-Wan needed to do on Mustafar when Anakin was like, I brought peace. He's like, stop it. Hey, get your ass. Padme needed to do that. Padme needed to be like, hey, get in the ship right now. We cannot be having this conversation. Get in.
It has just occurred to me that in a Test of Courage, Vern does use her light whip and just like kind of beat Imri's ass. Obi-Wan was trying to do that, but he accidentally cut Anakin in half.
So what we're saying,
he read about it. He was like, us. I heard of a master who did this when her Padawan was turning to the dark side. And then he was like, ugh.
This exactly, like, we've been saying all along, like, oh, Obi-Wan was probably a huge fan of Stellan Gios. Like, yeah, he would have studied Stellan, and he would have studied Stellan's Padawan Vern. Like, obviously, it's all checks out. I've connected the dots.
I am famously bad at ranking. I'm bad at, like, picking a favorite. Also, Noah has just texted me. I do want to read. This does have to do with my favorite character, but
You don't have to do this.
I'm putting Noah on blast really quick, and let's leave this in the pod. Don't take this out. He's just texted me, Pope Stellan Gios III, not Gios, Gio.
You're done.
Which brings me to one of my favorite characters, which is Stellan Gios. That being said, I'm sure everyone and their mother loves Stellan, so I'm not going to harp on him. I'm just going to run through some of my favorite little guys. Orla, love a girl boss. The shining star of the fallen star is one Leox Jossi. The other character that I feel like maybe is my High Republic guy, my icon, is one Torban Bunk. And I feel like I've given you sort of my list of that is my A tier of characters. But I'm going to talk about Torban Bunk right now because I have found that I have a type. And my type of favorite character is a really big guy on the team who's unexpectedly kind of smart, but also he's just there and he's hanging out with the kids. And that's my, like, if there's a guy who does that, I'm like, that is my favorite character. And also he's gay. That is my thought about Torban Bunk. He's also a baker. Like, excuse me. He's just some guy who's a baker, loves hanging out with kids.
Is Torban Bunk the Gara Zeb Aurelios of the High Republic? Not clickbait.
He's Zeb in a different font.
Okay.
He's Zeb in a Jedi font. That's what he is.
So here's the thing. I think that Zeb is much more of a warrior. Like he is more, I don't want to say he's more disciplined, but he is a different type of person. I think what I mean more is the role, the position that he fills in the ensemble, I think is very similar. And I think that is more my type. But what I really like about Torban Buck, I know I've been rambling, but one of the things that I also really like about him is that he sort of exemplifies the type of Jedi Order that we have. Whereas in the prequel era, which is where we see the most of the Jedi as an order outside of the High Republic, is a lot of them have very similar skill sets. And a lot of them fill very similar roles because the Jedi Order is so diminished from what it was in the High Republic, and its role in the galaxy is so different. What's cool about Torban Buck is that he is not a fighter. Like, he can fight, but he is clearly like, oh, I don't want to do that. And that is, happens with some Jedi, like others. But what's cool about him is like, he is like, I am here to heal. I am here to take care of children. And I am here to throw some very fun events. And that's just like, he's giving camp counselor. And that's not something that we see a lot from from other Jedi.
Two things. One, the idea of Torban Buck and Zine Morala, because I'm assuming Zine is like the Ezra type in this situation, just based on like positionality within the story. Having to share a bunk bed is so funny. It's so funny. I don't know if I'm going to keep this in the podcast.
Chopper?
No, don't disrespect Chopper like this.
No.
Sage would kill you if she heard those
Sage,
words.
I'm so sorry. Who's Chopper then?
Court.
Anyways, I was gonna say Court.
What I was gonna say is that I do think the idea of the idea of Torban demanding the top bunk is very funny to me. Anyways, what I was going to say also to that is that like this series also puts importance on the idea of healing and like just taking a minute, and Torban is like truly like a great example of like, okay guys, you have just witnessed a traumatic event, been part of like a traumatic event. Let's just run around Starlight Beacon real quick. That would be fun.
I also, as someone who thrives off of tradition and off of routines, I very much enjoy Torban Buck being like, yes, the galaxy is maybe just a little bit in shambles, but we are going to have our bake-off right now, and you guys are going to be quiet while I tell you a story about me and my epic bestie, Cantum. And I adore that. I think it's a very fun concept. I love the idea of seeing this. This is something that I always want more from Star Wars, is just everyday lives. A lot of people go to Star Wars because they want to see the war. They want to see the fighting. They want to see all that. And like the politics of it all, which is totally fine and a huge part of Star Wars and something I really enjoy too. But there's just something very special to me about seeing the day-to-day life. And I think that that is something that someone like Torban Buck represents.
I agree. I'm also I can't get over the concept of him having a bunk bed. I don't know. I mean, I'm very here for the idea of him and Zine having to share a bunk bed, but I'm also into the concept because of who he is. Being like, she's trying to go to bed and he's like, "Hey, do you need anything? Do you need like some water?" And she's like, "Can I please go to bed?" And he's like, "Okay. Are you sure you're good?" That said, my favorite little guys in the High Republic are probably Reese Silas and Belzetofar, almost uncontested. I don't know what it is. I think it's just that I like their narratives a lot, and they're very fun characters, but I appreciate their stories of trying to find your place in the universe, and then the answer being that there is not one definitive place for you to be. I also, though, hold a special place in my heart for, not like favorite characters, but characters that I think about a lot are Cantum Sai and Comac Vitus, because as Jedi Masters, I'm like, nobody's doing it like you guys. Like, the fact that both of them take the time, like, there's a scene in Midnight Horizon where Comac is having a hashtag traumatic moment, and he literally turns to Reith, who's like, "Can I help?" And he's like, "No, because you're a child, and that's not fair. That's not how this relationship works." And I'm like, and you're an icon for doing that. Truly, deeply, you are, like, everything that I needed in my life.
I believe that's like Kanan Jarrus kind of moment, or Kanan's like, "Yeah, I got a lot going on, but you're a child, and I need to parent you." And the Comac to Kanan pipeline is something that I think about quite a lot.
It quite may possibly be. We may never know. Studies have not been done. Conclusive results have not been achieved or attained. However, I like those little guys. And like I do like the war part of Star Wars because I find action interesting. So like I like Mel, are you okay?
I've just realized Comac runs into the woods. You know what Kanan does in the Bad Batch?
I just was saying
Oh my god.
Mel,
Comac Vitus, please be careful near fuel depots. I don't want you to die.
Oh no! If anyone shows up with turf bangs, we gotta keep them away from Comac.
No, who in the High Republic is having turf bangs quickly?
Marching out row. Next question.
No, okay, but in the fucking Eye of the Storm 2, he has like those little fucking micro bangs.
No, that was Eye of the Storm 1.
Wait, does this mean that Comac Vitus, that he has a boyfriend who's a Twi'lek?
No, he's too busy kissing Stellan Gios on the lips.
Oh my god, was he what a great story!
Yeah.
I said Comac was in love once. They never said with who.
I think it might be the subject matter of the
Lomac to Canera pipeline. Discuss.
Also, I do want to say, I fully believe in the Stellan Gios, Vernestra, Imri to Mace, Depa, Kanan, Ezra. That is my ideal lineage. However, I think the idea of them being in the same lineage as Comac is just very funny, because the idea of Kanan being like, Ezra, yes, like this is the history of the Jedi Order. This was a master that is in my lineage, in our lineage. And he's like, oh, cool. What did he do? He's like, well, he was gay and then he quit the order for a little bit, but it's fine.
Isn't that what Kanan Jarrus did? Yeah, he's bisexual and he quit the order for a little bit.
Okay, but he didn't quit. He did never quit the order.
Yeah, he never put his 2 weeks in.
Okay.
To be fair, neither did Comac. Comac said, I'm walking off the job right now.
Kanan didn't really have a choice.
Yeah, Kanan, I would say quit the order is a strong term.
Kanan quit the order by ascending the mortal plane.
Yeah, no, Kanan quit the order in the sense that a gun was pulled on him and he ran.
Yeah, I remember when Crosshair fired Kanan from the Jedi Order.
I do love the
Exit
idea of
interview with
fired.
Crosshair.
Oh my god, nightmare scenario.
Who are my little glove shittos? I want to just get this out of the way. I think everybody loves Bell Zettifar. I think a default of liking the High Republic is that you must love Bell Zettifar and that he occupies a certain part of your brain. So I wouldn't even put him in like favorite character because he's just like, I just love him very much. It's hard for me to pick. After Midnight Horizon, Cantum Psy took up so much of my brain space that I couldn't think about anybody else. But before Cantum, it was definitely Elzar Mann. I'm obsessed with that man. For the Rising Storm, it was definitely Stellan Gios. But here's what I'm going to say. I am gay, so I think Ty Yorick, we have not discussed her enough. Where is she? Is she well? Is she all right? She's the most fashionable. She's the hottest. She's the most powerful. There are several angles in comics of her just riding a dragon with a big-ass purple lightsaber. I'm like, this is what Star Wars is about. It's about hot women on dragons with a big fucking purple sword. And I am obsessed with her. Other than her, though, Avon Starros, I'm obsessed with your mind. Every time I see her, every time she's in a book, I'm like, I love women in STEM. I've talked about this before, that Catalyst also happens to be one of my favorite Star Wars novels. So the pipeline of Avon Starros to the Death Star is not one I like to think about.
But it's real.
Especially because if you think about, so Avon's mom is Gira, who is the senator from Hosnian Prime. And if you think about like the crystal research that Avon is interested in and probably will work on when she's older, that eventually will lead to the crystal research that Galen works on, that eventually leads to the Death Star, which leads to the second Death Star, which then leads to Starkiller Base, which does destroy Hosnian Prime. So, you know, it's like poetry rhymes, love. So yeah, every time I'm reading one of those little funky little middle grade books talking about Avon Starros and she's like, hey, crystals, I'm like, oh no, our table, it's broken. I have this very specific brand of Star Wars character that is, there's a Venn diagram, which is autistic characters who in some way are connected to the Death Star.
The fact that there are like multiple is so much to unpack.
So I think it was like there's like autistic characters that are connected to the Death Star, or autistic characters who are, did I say that they were Force users or whatever? So I truly do believe that Stellan Gios is autistic. I can find textual evidence, but if you want to argue with me on this, of canonical autistic characters, it's going to be like Avon Starros, Thrawn, Galen Erso, Tech from the Bad Batch and Stellan Gios. And several of them are involved with the Death Star. And I don't
That's
know.
so, okay, I'm so sorry.
I don't know what to do with that information.
I'm sorry to make this the fucking Bad Batch callback episode, but the idea of Tech being like, I've just found this design. Look, I've made a little mini replica. Isn't this so funny, guys? And then they get offed by the Empire and they're like, whoa, he did it. Cool. Let's works.
Okay, that is very funny to me. However, what is more funny, sorry to make this a Peacemaker podcast suddenly, but there is an episode where John Economos does make like a PowerPoint presentation and they give him a lot of shit about it. That is tech about the Death Star.
Yes, literally. He's like, okay, here. And they're like, you added graphics to your PowerPoint about the Death Star. And he's like, I was having fun with it. Okay.
I am a known Mustafar stan. He is my favorite Star Wars character. I mean, he's a classic. He is a classic. In a lot of ways, there are a lot of parallels to him and Obi-Wan in The Phantom Menace of like, hi, I'm a little guy who has a relationship with my master that isn't just like this perfect picture perfect thing. Like I have my own issues, but like I talk to my master about it. Obi-Wan could never. Anyways, then he has like this huge arc about grief. I really appreciate that. And then on the note of grief, Honesty Weft, my little, he's my quirked up little white boy. He is the axe woves of the High Republic for me, of just like, you're a little white guy who is here for 5 minutes and I'm obsessed with you for some godforsaken reason.
I must say, we do know more about Honesty Weft than we do Axe Wove, so I get his name out of your mouth.
That is true. Fair enough. Ty, also my girl Tylera Yorick, shout out. A character that we have not talked a whole lot about that I also have just really spiritually connected to in a way that I didn't expect. Court. I think he's just a little guy. And I think that is very charming. And I think people need to respect him more. The High Republic Adventures 13, there's the scene where him and Farzala float baby Zint, who is fuck Baby Yoda. I don't give a fuck about him. I care about Zint.
I always forget about Court, and then I think about it, and I'm like, oh, he's the best. Damn. Actually, Sav Malagan, we haven't talked about her enough. Latinos in space, am I right?
So true. Girl boss. I cannot wait to learn more about her. I'm assuming she and Porter we're going to find out a fair amount of information about. I will also say, just on the note of Sav Malagan, Danny Jose Older really decided in Edge of Balance 2. He was like, what if I killed a child?
Okay, so I feel like I brought a curse on the High Republic in some way, because this thing starts and then it keeps going with there are a lot of Padawans losing their masters, and that happens, in it's a pretty often theme in the rest of Star Wars, but like in the High Republic, it's like from the jump, it's like another one. And at one point I went, we've really explored grief of Padawans losing their masters. Have we ever really seen a master lose their Padawan? Not to the dark side, but like to death. And I should have shut the fuck up is what I should have done. I should have been quiet.
Okay. This has made me think of Lily Tora-Asi and Rail Averross parallels.
Okay.
That is the funniest fucking connection to draw.
No, because here's the other bestie that you were not considering. I know that his Padawan had already been knighted, but I'm thinking about Kit Fisto when his former Padawan did die, and he was like, oh no, okay, gonna do a backflip.
That's kind of what Lily did.
I did think of that, but at the time, that was his former Padawan. Like, he'd already been knighted. I was talking about, like, when they are still a kid and they're still your Padawan.
Okay, well, sorry Kit Fisto didn't lose his Padawan when he was still a child. No, I'm kidding. But I just think about that a lot because I think it's very funny when he's like, no. Anyway.
Edge of Balance? What the fuck?
Okay, well, Lily deserves to do a backflip.
So true. Speaking of Edge of Balance, do we want to get into our critiques of the High Republic?
Yeah, one of the kind of criticisms that I have and I think it's very specifically of this like last wave, is there's just so much that has been built up, that like there's so many characters that have been introduced, there's so many open storylines that I think for the most part are done really well and are really interesting. I'm excited to see them pay off, but there's some stuff that hasn't quite paid off. One of those things, I think, speaking of Edge of Balance, so how are we going to talk about how Nan was there at the beginning of Edge of Balance when Marchion was explaining the plan?
I was like, wait, huh?
Like, I mean, I think like one of the key tenets of the Fallen Star is that Nan does not know the plan. So it's really interesting that she is there, because maybe I misread, but I'm pretty sure that after Out of the Shadows, she is not in connection with the Nihil until after Fallen Star. And I mean, I think maybe this could be sorted with the timeline. Like, I would like to see if there's any sort of like there's a lot of fan-made stuff, which I deeply, deeply appreciate, but I would really like to see some sort of official timeline.
I think that's going to be where a lot of our critiques come from, as far as like, and this is in the distribution and production arena, which I'll say this. High Republic has done incredibly well for coming out in the middle of a pandemic and in the middle of being an entire publishing thing across several different publishers when shipping has been fucked the entire world over. This is the textbook example of corporate baseball affecting storytelling. Disney changing their priorities several times over the past few years, over this past year, of all that kind of stuff, and where that puts the High Republic and what that means marketing wise and all that kind of stuff. Because literally, you know, you have people like, yeah, getting people to read books is hard or whatever, but then you have people being like, oh, I want to read it, and they have to like ask random people on Twitter where to read, and people will be like, well, they made a bookmark on StarWars.com. And I'm like, I know that the people working in social and digital, whatever, they're doing their best or whatever. And yeah, it's across several publishing initiatives, whatever. But it's literally like, you know, whether I'm trying to read War of the Bounty Hunters in the correct order from just Marvel, or I want to know, like, on the books themselves, which adult books in the High Republic are books 1, 2, and 3, I don't fucking know. And I feel like there's a wider philosophical discussion that could be had here about Star Wars, of like, or about franchises in general, about how like everything needs to be an on-ramp, and how there's always this thing of like, oh, well, you can start anywhere, where you can whatever, anywhere, whatever. And that's really great, and I'm glad when that happens a lot of the times. However, in this case, it's very hard to build a story like that, because then they're like, oh, well, anybody can jump in here, anybody can jump in here. And I'm like, yes, that's very good, because not everyone's going to have access to everything. However, it also, there are things you can do to make it easier, not only to access, but at least to know what goes where or how things fit or whatever, without those of us who are sitting here like Charlie Day with the fucking string in the back with a Google document and Wikipedia open. Like, there has to be a middle ground between, you know, complete corporate control, you know, and whatever, and and acknowledging the fact that, you know, not everybody has access to things because, you know, funding for libraries is terrible and nobody makes any money and they can't buy single thing. And also the fact that, like, not every story needs to be an on-ramp for everything just so that people can buy shit. Like, there has to be a middle ground.
I would say this. I have two things I think to speak to that. One is that, like, comic books as a medium for a long time have perfected the art of allowing you to, like, you can't jump anywhere in a story. Like, if you want to jump into like the most recent run of Miles Morales, the comic will tell you like, hey, you should really be reading like this, and this first, come back here. And when new storylines intersect, like there's a section I think in Miles Morales 2018 where like the King in Black storyline just jumps into the comic and they're like, go back to this and read all of that and then come back here and they'll be good to go. And that functions really well, and it's also very helpful. That said, I mean, it can still be hard to like know where to like get started. My gripe with the High Republic as a like collection of stories is I have nothing like against any level of reading. Like, obviously the middle grade books are very good, the YA books are very good. Like, these are all good stories. However, as someone who like personally, I just don't like to read middle grade books. It doesn't appeal to me as like a person who reads things. I'm not very engaged by it most of the time. So I just haven't read the last couple of them. And that's okay. But like what it means is that you're rendered a little bit out of the loop when certain stories jump back into the main continuity or the main plot. And like that's just a reality of reading things. But comic books manage to do that in a way that's a lot more seamless, where the very baseline is like, here's where we are, here's what's going on. You don't feel like, I guess, perhaps as left out per se, but that's also just challenging because like not every level can do everything at the same time. That isn't like a fair ask of a series.
Yeah, I agree completely. And I think something too is that you see in situations, and this specifically happened in this wave, where you will see them finally trying to bring those connections, where you have characters like Vernestra and Imri talk to Avar, who is one of the main characters of the Marvel comics. Avar's like, you guys should come with us on the Ataraxia to go get Lorna D. And they're like, awesome, let's go. So at the end of Mission to Disaster, you have the impression that, oh, if I want to see Vernestra and Imri's story continue, I should read the High Republic comics. So you go and read those. Come the end of the High Republic comics, they are nowhere to be seen. And we see the Ataraxia. We see basically the entire crew of the Ataraxia. Vernestra and Imri aren't there. And it's weird because it's stuff like that feels like a tiny continuity issue in the grand scheme of things. But it is, if your favorite character is Vernestra, who is, for all intents and purposes, the main character of the middle grade of pretty much every single Justina Ireland moment, it's something like, okay, well, where is she? And, it's a weird
She's
thing.
also one of the adult, she's also like, this was huge in The Fallen Star. She's one of the adult characters' former Padawans. Like, Stellan Gios is dying and in his dying moments, and there's not even a mention of Vernestra. Like, that was insane to me. Like, even if I only read the adult books, and let's say I didn't know her as a person, and maybe it was mentioned in the past. I don't know if she has been mentioned to be his Padawan in the past. Like, me as an adult Star Wars fan who was just reading that, like, it would still mean a lot to me for him to think about his Padawan in his dying moments, or to talk about her, be worried about her in some way in some other time, and that doesn't happen. That being said, like, I can get into whatever, but it works the other way too.
I feel like a lot of our critiques are very, like, I don't know, they're much less about the actual narrative itself and more about, like, kind of these, like, larger systemic things about the franchise, which I think is a testament to how good this series is. Like, there isn't a whole lot to be like, okay, well, like, I think that there can be something said about, like, and maybe I am not reading the comics as closely as I should, but, like, I kind of just, like, miss Avar. Like, I know she's a main character in the comics, but I just feel like I can't wait to, like, see more of her, and I feel like it has really been weird how she's existed in the books, because in Light of the Jedi, like, she's, like, really there, and in the comics, once again, really there. She has, like, an overall, like, arc and narrative in that story, but, like, in The Rising Storm, she's conveniently not there once again because of the story. But, like, The Fallen Star felt really weird for me for Avar, because I was just like, you are here, but you're not. You're helping Estala Maru not explode into passion, and then he does. Okay, bye.
Another thing about Avar too, and I think this is another sort of continuity thing, and I don't know how you would remedy this. I'm obviously not a writer for a reason, but at the end of The Fallen Star, you have Avar and Elzar sort of confiding in each other about how upset they are, and clearly Avar is upset, and clearly there's been a little bit of time for her to come to and be all right. But she is a mess at the end of the comics. And we see Kiev be like, don't worry, like, I'm going to take on almost a caretaker role, and I'm going to step up. And then at the end of The Fallen Star, we see Avar and Elzar having this conversation where Avar is almost a caretaker to Elzar, who is, honestly, Elzar was messed up, but he was in a way better mental, like, he had a lot more mental fortitude at the end of The Fallen Star than Avar had at the end of the comics. So this might just be a commentary on like how like the gender roles of men and women and how often like a woman's story gets sidelined so that she can be a caretaker to a man, which I'm not necessarily saying is what's happening here. I think it may just be, I don't want to say it's a miscommunication about where they were at the end of their respective stories, but it is definitely evident that there was a bit of a disconnect in like, what are they feeling? And like, oh, we could talk about unreliable narrator, but I don't think that that is the reason for that.
Yeah. And there is also, of course, like the understanding like relationships are different. Like Avar is just maybe having a moment of emotional intimacy with Kiev that she's just not having with Elzar. Like she is not talking about emotions because she's used to having to be that more caretaker role in their relationship. Who knows?
I will say, Kevin, I think, was the one who tweeted something today where he was like, yeah, I'm seeing a lot of people's like critiques similar to this, and it's like taking everything inside me to like not say anything, because I know that some of what you guys are saying is going to be resolved, but I just can't talk about it right now, and you'll see. And so that's why I'm like trying to hold my judgment on like the narrative stuff of that kind of thing. I will say this, for the overall, like, how does this connect? And, like, sometimes things disconnect and whatever. You know, I'm a fan of a lot of things. I've consumed a lot of things. I love an experiment, and I love an experiment, and I love something different. And I love that they're constructing a story in a different way than usually happens, which is like there's filmed media and then they make stuff to like tie into that, or, you know, it's a book series that then, you know, has things and then they adapt it, whatever. Experiment, I guess, might be the wrong word. Like I love the trying the new thing, and obviously there's things that work and that don't work, but it's kind of wonderful to see Star Wars at least try, and Star Wars of all things, because Star Wars does not take chances normally, so it's nice. And I know that there was a lot of this discussion after The Fallen Star came out. There were a lot of critiques. I was not as critical of The Fallen Star as some people were, and I think now that we've seen all of Phase 1, it's a lot easier to talk about.
Okay, I guess on a story level, the thing that I got tired of, and it wasn't bad storytelling, but like the last section of this part of the High Republic was just like this gauntlet of personal tragedy that was like seemingly never ending. And like from a story perspective, that's fine, because what it easily sets up is the rest of these characters' story, when we come back to explore it, has to be an upswing, like by narrative definition. That's the only way that this works. But I just got burnt out at some point. Like, full disclosure, confessional moment, super emotional, not clickbait story time. I have not read The Fallen Star, not even opened a page of it. I have no intention to read The Fallen Star because like I just don't want to do it anymore. Like the consistency with which things get worse on like literally every side, not you, Minute Horizon, my bestie, my friend, but like that was the first thing that I was reading in a while where I was like, oh, things are improving. Things are happening to the characters that are good and substantive. And like that wasn't not present. Like the High Republic Adventures also had like a lot of like positive moments, but the overall story was just like constant heartbreaking tragedy. And that got really tiring to me at some point. Maybe so much, I mean, I don't know if that's so much of a critique, of more of it is a thing that was not working for me, because I can see narratively and structurally it makes a lot of sense, but I as a reader was like, I'm over it. I want things to start working out for these people. Please free them.
It's interesting to look at the structure of Phase 1 has been gigantic cataclysm, and then dealing with the, like, each phase has started with a gigantic cataclysm and then dealing with the fallout. Gigantic cataclysm and dealing with the fallout, and or seeing it from another angle. And then if obviously you compare that to the Star Wars trilogies, obviously each phase is supposed to be more like the trilogies, but if you think about like each movie, you know, being like each wave or whatever, like each movie doesn't start with a cataclysm. Like the first one, you have the Death Star kill Alderaan for sure, but you don't have that happen like again in Empire Strikes Back. Like you lose Han Solo, like you have personal losses, like you lose Han Solo and like shit like that, and then, you know, they build a second Death Star or whatever, and like Hoth is a giant fuck up or whatever. And in the prequels, for example, like there's problems in each one, like a war starts, whatever, but it's building towards the big cataclysm at the end. You know, and obviously in the sequel trilogy, it's very similar to the originals, where it's like we start with it and then we go through. With this one, it was consistent. It was like another one, and it was like, okay, all right, like either go one way or go the other way. Like, you know, either make me feel dread the whole time or whatever. And to be fair, if they are starting a book being like, wow, look at this amazing space station, it's so wonderful, immediately I was like, well, obviously something horrible is going to happen to this thing eventually. So it was definitely like dread the whole time. I did not expect in the middle of that for there to be other just life-ending crises before that. I was like, Jesus. You know, again, it's supposed to give a completely different feel, whatever, but I mean, it's you know, it's not just Star Wars that's like this narratively. It was very much like, okay, so you can't just, that's enough slices.
You get that in like each book kind of has, you know, a narrative flow and has like a story structure, but reading them all subsequently, like one after the other, it's a lot, especially if you're like us. And a lot of people who did this, who got into it and then were in it when a lot of it was already out, and you read a lot of it all at once. And it's like, wow, they're really beating my ass, huh?
And I would just say this, the primary difference for me between the earlier, I don't remember if it's waves or phases, because frankly, I have the memory of a Dementiac walnut, but the thing that I loved about Light of the Jedi that stuck with me as a book was like, you open on this huge humanitarian disaster, but there's a big sense of hope throughout the book that this is a solvable problem the characters can encounter, which, to be fair, is a testament to very good writing in the High Republic, because I believe in their complete lack of hope for the rest of the series as the problem gets so large that it cannot feasibly be solved with lightsabers. Like, and that's good storytelling, but it did make it a little bit, for me at least, of a slog of like, because in Light of the Jedi, like, yes, the situation is quite dire, but like the characters believe in their ability to solve the problem, and watching them do it felt very good. It was like a nice story. And that has since changed, which like I recognize is actually good writing, that I'm feeling their hopelessness and like their inability to solve this problem. But as a reader, I'm like, please free my girlies from the ocean. I'm begging you. Stellan Gios, I'm so sorry that you're down there. Do you guys think they have to scuba dive for him at some point, or they're just like, he'll stay down there?
You're done.
He's fine. He got out and swam away.
This is actually just like the Legends ending of Fallen Order, where Trilla died, but she actually is fine in the canon version. Stellan Gios is fine in canon. It's in Legends that he died.
Yeah, actually, so this is the really heartbreaking part about Stellan Gios. He survived Starlight crashing, but he went and washed up on the beach from Old. So
free Stellan Gios on the beach from Old. Free him.
Okay, we cannot bring back Crosshair and Beach from Old jokes.
I'm so sorry. I saw the opportunity and took it. I will say, as the final kind of like wrap up, and I think it's just kind of another another angle that I'm seeing what Noah is talking about and what Klaudia talked about, is for me seeing Bal Zettifar go through bullshit after bullshit. To be fair, in The Fallen Star, he takes a considerable amount of W's. He, I think of all the characters in that book, is probably the one who's going off and is like, you know what? Everything's undone. I'm okay. But like, he
loses his best friend. That's kind of,
but here's the thing. He doesn't. Like, Burry, at least to him,
out there.
At least to him, Burry is still alive. He's like, I'm gonna go find my bestie, and then we'll see what's going to happen after that. I don't know. That's good for him. That's what he needed. What I will say is that there is something about narratives about young Black boys having to go through trauma after trauma, and like, that doesn't feel the best to me. But once again, I don't think that is like, I don't know, like, because everyone else is also enduring that same bullshit, I'm less apt to be like, this feels racially motivated, because it doesn't. It just is like, that really sucks, Belle. I'm sorry.
So now we're gonna take some audience questions. Some of you had a couple questions about the High Republic phase 1 for all of us, so we're gonna quickly go around, do a little lightning round. Our first question is from @MeganKatz. And this is just a quick one. Is it possible to read the comics before the books, or should we read them as they were released? Great news. We have a High Republic reading order that the lovely Mel worked on, keeps updated, that you can reference about that. But, you know, Mel, since you're the creator of that guide, what are your opinions on that?
I will say, first of all, go to tinyurl.com/read THR, and there's the reading guide. It's pretty straightforward. You don't have to read everything, but as we said in our like critiques area, reading it all, I think, is really advantageous, and I highly recommend it. Also, just because it's a good story. That's what I have to say on it. Nextly, Twitter user EgoQuaireresi1 asks, who is our top THR glub shitto?
Does anyone want to explain what a glub shitto is for the people at home?
It's a random fucked up little guy that you like.
Yeah,
who's not a main character.
Yeah, a glub shitto is someone who, if they appeared in a piece of media, you'd be like, whoa, what are they doing here? And I think one of my faves is probably a glub shitto, which is Torban Buck. But the other one I will say, my follow-up is Teami, who is, again, kind of maybe a little bit too well known. You know who my real glub shitto is? Captain Bright from Light of the Jedi. I missed him. He was a boy boss.
I don't know if I have one because all of my favorite characters are the main cast. Yeah, I'm sorry that I'm being normal on main.
My favorite glub shitto is Reed Silas. I'm Noah.
You're done.
I am going to enter my City Sweetie in Euphoria era.
What I will say,
start yelling.
What I will say is, if you do say the name Reed Silas to someone who has only seen the movies, they would be like, who? So fair enough.
Technically, all High Republic characters are glub shittos. So this is like, you know how in Neopets you have the Neopet and then you have the pet? This is like the pet of glub shitto.
Does Dr. Uttersong count as a glub shitto?
Yeah.
In that case, yes. I think he's funky and fresh.
I don't know, because I have like the same problem as Noah, where all my besties, my favorites are like main people.
I will say this. I will ask you this question simply because I think it's the elephant in the room. Do you think Kevin Tarr is white Eli Vanto?
Absolutely.
Who?
In Light of the Jedi, he's the little ginger bitch who is like, Elzar, you're so smart. You guys are making it rain.
I read Light of the Jedi like back in the summer, so I have no remembrance of like minor things in that book anymore.
He is the one who proposes the idea of the droid array. He's like, at the very beginning, he's like, oh my god, our planet's getting destroyed.
Oh, that dude?
Yeah, like the little guy, like the little college kid who's his bet, like who's like, oh,
wait, no, here now I know who my glove shitto is now that you've like jogged some Light of the Jedi like memories. Or actually now I have two because I remember something else. But no, the one captain dude in the beginning of Light of the Jedi who does explode in a passion, and his last words get cut off because he's just like, we are all the Republic, but the station exploded. That guy, I did have to pause reading the book because I was just like, I can't do this.
Are you talking about the Nautilin?
Yeah.
Captain Bright, who I said at the beginning of this segment.
I guess the other glub shitto is our bestie. Hold on, I need to get his name right or else I'm gonna die in a passion too. Douglas.
Dougie!
Master Doug, I miss you. You were only there for like a few chapters. And then you also exploded in a passion, but he was Imri's, original master before Vern adopted him. And he seemed like a nice guy.
Not to derail this segment, my personal fan cast for when Douglas Sunvale is Brendan Fraser, because I think that's just like very so powerful.
That'd be very good.
I'm going to say a name of an actor that I saw thrown around for a character in the High Republic. You're going to have to guess who. Michael Cera.
Reed Silas.
Yes.
Marcian Rowe. Oh.
He's like, oh, hey, Comac, I like, yeah, that's so crazy.
Oh
I was
God,
actually
seven
gonna like
evil exes. They're because all
The idea of Reed Silas having one evil ex, having one ex, full stop, girly.
It's not, no,
No.
it's not even evil exes. It's just 7 queer women that he's been in love with over the last 2 months. And they're like, they have a group chat where they're like, can someone help him figure out what's going on right now?
Can somebody tell that kid that he is gay?
So true. My glub shittos, I've already talked about my main boy, Honesty. Other notable glub shittos, Professor Wolk from Out of the Shadows. He lived, he served cunt, broke boundaries and stereotypes, and then he died in a passion. And then I'm trying to think, I have like so many little glub shittos. I really like Samira. I feel like she deserves more. And then I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Yasik Sparkburn. I want to see that bitch. What is he up to?
I was just thinking about him. So true.
He has a fat ass. That is all.
My glub shittos are the 2 little Padawans in Edge of Balance that are just like they clearly don't have any other kids to hang out with, and they're trying their best. And Lily Tora-Asi is like, again, another girl boss character, kind of like Vern, who is having to parent basically 3 children. And these little kids, they're so adorable. And one of them is a Togruta and makes me think of baby Ahsoka constantly, and screaming, crying, throwing up. I had another one that is escaping me right now, and it's Marshawn Rowe's little bird boyfriend.
Udi Dis?
Leveled?
Udi, put some respect on Udi Dis's name. Also, he did not get leveled. Mark did just fully stab him.
Yeah, I love how they like developed a whole backstory for this man, like, and like a whole motivation and everything, whatever. And I knew the whole time, I was like, he is getting murdered. Why are they spending so much time on this man? But I was really invested in him. And he's kind of force sensitive. Unfortunately, he does remind me. I'm so sorry, Jess. He does remind me of Zuckuss.
No, we don't talk about Zuckuss.
And then he's from like a force sensitive race or whatever. I just think about that little guy a lot. Oh, and my other one was I believe this is from Mission to Disaster. The new Tempest runner. I forget what her goddamn name is.
Karazu.
Yeah, I don't know. She's very Yas and Slay. I don't know if this person counts as a glup shitto at this point, but what is the name of the bounty hunter that Justina Ireland created, who was alive during the High Republic and was
Diva Lompop.
Diva Lompop. Number 1, I wish she had fucking showed up in the Book of Boba Fett. Diva Lompop, I'm obsessed with you. Yeah, she's like was around and kicking it in the High Republic, and her species just lives a long time, and she is the color of a pride flag. And then when we see her again in like the Star Wars main run comics, she's just like living her best life in a spa in a bathrobe, and then Jabba's like, hey, can you like do some shit for me? And she's just kicking ass. And I don't know, I'm obsessed with her. I'm
surprised none of us brought up our obvious favorite club shittos, the Santeca husbands.
That's because they're not my favorite club shadows.
Oh.
What are you talking about? They're the queer representation we've been wanting all along.
It's all we ever wanted, all we truly deserve.
It has just occurred to me. They are the lesbians kissing in Rise of Skywalker, but in reverse.
Oh my god. We did it, Joe. Our next question is from our beloved Mackenzie. What's our High Republic kin list?
My kin list is probably Starlight Beacon, the Leveler, Hyperspace, perhaps Mari Santeca in her little pickle jar.
Oh my god, it's so funny. I have an actual answer. So my answer, unfortunately, is Stellan Gios.
That was mine too.
Okay, well, no doubles, so you need to pick someone else.
Okay, we can't have kin drama on the podcast.
Well, what I like about Stellan is that there's something wrong with him, And there's also things wrong with me. So I think we match together. But what I also really like about him is that he is like, it's almost like, I think a lot of people look at Stellan and think like, oh, gifted kid burnout. But I don't think that's what it is. I think he is like, he definitely was taking AP classes and he definitely was like a quote unquote gifted kid. But I don't think that it is gifted kid burnout. What I think he faces is he is someone who has had a very like a very high standard that he has internally decided to meet. And I think there's of course external pressure as well, but he has reached a point in his life where he's like, oh, I actually just realized that I don't really know what I don't know. I need to go on a journey of self-discovery, which is what he's doing post Fallen Star. But I think it's really interesting to see a character who has that sort of reckoning. Because again, it's something that we can get from a book that we might not be able to get from other types, is we hear that internal struggle and we see how he is feeling explained, as happens in a book. And I just think his perspective is really interesting. And I really like the way that it is portrayed of him being like, yeah, what am I doing? Who am I? I don't know who I am.
I have an actual answer, not to be facetious for absolutely zero reason, but I would say if I had to pick just one, because I don't really have a list, but I would say Reed Silas is definitely up there. Because his plotline in Midnight Horizon is very much about finding out that there is no direction forward, there's just forward, and that's something you have to live with and figure out for yourself. And for better or for worse, I did read that story at a time in my life where I was having a very similar struggle, so I was like, I related to that little motherfucker. I do like saying that like a time in my life, though, that was not like last month, but that's okay. Yeah, I just think he's a quirked up white boy, possibly with a little bit of sexual swagger, and he's busting it down sexual style.
I'm going to say Comac Vitus is at the top of mine, and that he's somebody who's like, yeah, I've seen a lot and been through a lot, and now I am a bit radicalized and I don't know what to do with my life. I relate. Elzar Mann is one of those characters I just felt a deep kinship with. I don't as a person, but I don't have the same personal struggles as him, so I guess that doesn't really count. Stellan Gios again was gonna be the other one. There was one more. It's always troubling for me when I never pick a woman. Like, to myself, I'm always like, for $1, pick a woman. And I never do that. I wish, you know what? I'm gonna put Lorna D on there because I have entered my I don't want peace, I want problems era, and I think she has inspired me. And I am also against the prison industrial complex.
My kin list is as follows: Honesty Weft. I really talk about this bitch a lot. And then if I have to choose like a main character that I really relate to, Ty in a lot of ways, and to some lesser extent Belle. But I'm sorry, I'm having kinning the characters I like moment, but it's the truth.
My kin list, and I'm not going to explain anything. You can try to piece things together yourselves. My kin list is Reed Silas, Enrique Canteros, and Marcion Rowe.
Jess, can you
we need to address what you put in the chat?
No, this was like the actual Glub Shido that I forgot to mention.
Oh,
is my favorite Glub Shido. Counselor John Whittick.
Rest in peace, King. Spoilers for Tempest Runner.
I did get weirdly attached to that motherfucker, and I think it's because I did picture him as Jeremy Strong, so I was like, this is just like Succession.
No!
You're done. You're done. Okay. Our last question is from @Astra M. What is your favorite relationship of any kind?
Handsome, Sigh, and Buckets of Blood. Next question.
Stellan Gios and the Sea. Belle and Ember.
Period.
Great answer.
I love Wreath and Ram. I think they are the moment.
Mine's is Vern and Emery.
Mine is also going to be a Midnight Horizon one. Mine is Cantum and Yoda, actually. Which
So
is
true.
insane for me because I have not historically been a Yoda stan. I talked about this a little bit in the last episode, but that did hit me in a way that I cannot express. And I think to extension, I think Cantum and Lula, although we haven't seen them together as much because Lula, we didn't really see her in Midnight Horizon because she was off doing her own little thing. That being said, the Firebrands polycule, do I think about them a lot? Yeah, I do. It actually was a part of the reason why I was a little mad about some of the books or whatever, because I was like, oh, I want to know more about like Avar's relationship with Elzar. What was her relationship with Stellan? Like, you know, we finally get to see Elzar and Stellan's relationship, and like clearly at the end of the book, they're like, the three of us are tied intricately together, and I'm like, well, one of the points of that star I did not see as much how she is connected. So yeah, I actually give a lot of a shit about that relationship, and I wanted to know more about it for that reason.
So it's da 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 da. I fucking lost it there at the end. I don't know how music works. Hi. Welcome to Is It Legends or Did I Just Make It Up? A segment wherein I have gone to the deep reaches of Wikipedia and have looked at some Legends pages, and now I'm going to hold my friends in like a saw trap and ask them, is this real or did I just make this up in Legends? Are you all ready? Behind the scenes fact, this was originally going to be in our interview with Daniel Jose Older, but we just didn't end up doing it. So this is all questions about Corellia. Number 1. In Legends, the Jedi of Corellia wore green robes as opposed to the more traditional brown.
I think that's very fun.
Is it like St. Patrick's Day?
Oh my God. Yeah, I'll say I think it's Legends in honor of it canonizing St. Patrick's Day. I'll say Legends.
We've talked about Corellia being like the Detroit of Star Wars. What if it's the Chicago? What if this is the fucking...
Nar.
Anyways.
Was Chicago the city with the Dave Matthews Band bus?
Yes. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
All the ways to identify Chicago.
Man,
Anyways.
remember when the Dave Matthews, oh my God, that's the vessel.
Okay, we know.
For those of you guys who don't know, the Dave Matthews Band tour bus did like release its like waste, which is like where the stuff in the bathroom goes. It's septic tank. They released it off the side of a bridge, like intending for it to go into the water, which is not good. You shouldn't do that. But they also did it on top of a boat as it went under. And I just think that the vessel crew accidentally doing that to they accidentally do that to the Starhopper, and I think that'd be very funny.
Does Geo shit?
Can't do this anyway.
I'm so sorry.
I think it's Legends.
I think Mel made it up.
I did not say, but I would like it to be Legends.
Well, fucking wish granted, Noah. It is Legends.
No.
Hell
Yeah. Happy St. Patrick's Day, Corellians.
Is there a reason?
Han Solo is the person who wears a shirt that says "Kiss me, I'm Corellian."
Oh, for sure. I don't know if there's a reason. They just do. There's a lot of Jedi lore about Corellia. Are you ready for the next question? In 27 BBY, Mithran Yorodo mistakenly calls Corellia Krell. Is it Legends or did I just make it up?
I'm shooting from the hip. I think that's Legends.
I think it's funny, so I'm gonna say Legends.
Krell? Like Pong Krell?
Exactly.
Now, I've only read one of the Thrawn books, so it's possible that in other ones he's prone to grammatical and spelling errors, but he doesn't strike me as the type to be like that. I'm gonna say that you made it up because I think it'd be funny if you did.
Like on one hand, it feels dumb enough where it could be Legends, right? But then the Thrawn Legends books, whenever I learn new information about what's going on there, I'm always like, what the fuck? What is that? So I think it's Legends.
It is, in fact, Legends.
I love coming on this show and being not only blatantly wrong, but also saying things that are patently untrue. I think it's so fun.
Next question. Crix Medane, Corellian Imperial defector, was killed on the battle station Darksaber. Is it Legends, or did I just make it up?
You made that one up. His name is Crix.
The battle station Darksaber isn't the thing that's tripping you up, it's the Crix part. Because here's unfortunately what I am picturing is like a really big dark saber that floats in space, and that's why they named it that. Is like it's a really big scale model replica of the dark saber. I'm gonna say that it is made up.
I will also say that you made it up because I have a reason, but I won't say it until after the reveal.
So here's my thing. I know there's like other characters named Crix because I go through Legends Wikipedia a lot, but what's throwing me off is like the dark saber part. I think it's Legends.
Okay, no, because I was wrong last time. I spread salacious rumors of the gig, false of the function. So I'm going to say that it is actually Legends for the sole purpose of switching my answer from last time.
Okay. Klaudia, what did you say?
I said you made this up.
Okay. Well, I didn't make it up. It is Legends.
How do you spell
Battle
Crix?
Station, wait. Battle Station Darksaber.
Battle Station Darksaber. I was fucking crazy.
Star Wars is
Crix.
What?
I hate that because I was gonna say I've
Like
definitely
price
looked up.
checks?
I was gonna say I've definitely looked up Crix on Wikipedia multiple times, and I have only seen two. So maybe it was
One is a
the C that
Trandoshan,
was-
and one is
yeah.
the little fucked up guy from the
I
High
think-
Republic.
I think it was the C that got me.
Yeah, it was the C.
That's so cringe of me.
Next one. In Legends, the Corellian Jedi Temple would award Jedi who achieved the rank of Master with Jedi credits. They were essentially these little medals, and they were also known as Jed Creds. Is that Legends, or did I just make it up?
Sounds like a melism. You made that one
Jed
up.
Creds.
I'm gonna say it's Legends, and I was gonna bring up Catholicism, but I'm restraining myself, and I'm not going to.
Good.
I think that this is Legends because that seems like something someone on Corellia would do. I also like Jed Creds. That's very fun. Rolls off the tongue. When are they going to have Jed Creds at Galaxy's Edge? That's my question.
I like it a lot, and I want it to exist, so I'm gonna say Legends.
Congratulations. It is, in fact, Legends. I think it's from KOTOR. I'm not sure. I didn't look. Anyways, are we ready for the last one of the evening? In Legends, the phrase wizard was coined by Tatooine bartender Marshada.
I'm going to say Legends because I've been wrong so much before.
I feel like I've read this somewhere, so I'm going to say Legends. I'm probably wrong, but I don't care.
See, I also feel like I might have seen this on Wikipedia because one time I did spend 5 hours hitting the random page. I'm not even joking. It was like 5 hours of me doing that. And I feel like I saw that or something similar. I don't know. Am I gaslighting myself? I'm gonna just say yeah, it's Legends. Let's go. How many is this? 5 for 5?
I'm going to say that it's Legends.
I got your fucking asses. I made that shit up.
Well, I feel like I
You're
saw
done.
something about a bartender on Tatooine though.
I mean,
Or
there's
maybe it
probably
wasn't about wizard.
Yeah, there's probably a lot of bartenders on Tatooine.
They got nothing else to do. It's just sand there.
Yeah, they're like, what career path do you want to follow, son? And they're like, I don't know, bartender.
They're like, great. It's not like our economy is full of them. So this is all to say. Congratulations, Jess. You won this week's Legends, or did I just make it up?
A few. I kept my crown. Welcome back to everyone's favorite segment. Name That Ship, where it's the segment where one of our hosts presents a fanfic to the other hosts, and they read the tags, and the other hosts have to guess based off the tags who is like the main ship in this fanfic. We want to preface this again where we're not trying to be mean. We love all fanfic writers and we appreciate them, and we appreciate fanfic as a medium. I did pull this from our little submissions thing.
Now, okay.
Whoa.
They need to get out of here.
Wait, okay. So is it
this RPF?
Yeah, it is.
Is the
a
other
Star
way
Wars
is
character?
and a real human being?
Yeah.
Is it another politician?
No.
Is it Nancy Pelosi?
No.
Oh.
Anyway, let me
Okay,
finish
they
my
just said
tags.
it's not a politician.
Okay, wait,
Are
so-
they famous?
No, okay, let them finish the
but
tags.
Let me finish the tags. Okay, so
sorry.
yeah, it's character A and then character B, Lady Gaga, Tom Hanks, Barack Obama, and then there's original male characters, original female characters, 69 marriage, domestic, children, adopted children, poverty, financial issues, Sith character a phrase that I'm not going to say because it will give it away, and then male homosexuality, gay parents.
Is
Okay.
one Din Djarin?
No.
Does this have anything to do with the Madonna biopic Olympics?
No.
Actually,
Obi-Wan
gay people
Kenobi-
are bad.
Is Obi-Wan Kenobi one of the characters?
No.
Is it two male characters in the primary ship, or is
Yeah.
it straight?
Okay,
It's
what?
a male character and a person who does identify as male.
Oh,
Is
okay.
it okay? Is character B? So character B is the non-Star Wars character, right? Is it
Yeah.
like a famous person? Like,
Yes.
is it Anthony Hopkins?
No.
Is it
Oh.
Harry Styles?
Is this Star
No,
Wars?
but you're getting warmer, Mel.
Is it
in
a
that
member of One
sense.
Direction?
No.
Fuck.
Is the Star Wars character like what era? Prequels, sequels, original
Prequels.
trilogy, prequels. Are they
Anakin.
human or
No.
not human?
They're not human.
Plo
Are
Koon.
they-
No.
What if
Mephisto.
No.
is it C3PO?
No.
Are they a
Jedi?
droid? Are they a Jedi? Wait, it says Sith character A. So are they ordinarily not a Sith?
Is it Maul?
They're not a Sith. Yeah, they're
Oh.
ordinarily not a Sith.
And they're not
And
a
they're
Jedi.
not a droid or a Jedi.
Bail Organa.
No, they're
He is
not
a human. Is it Hondo?
No.
That would have been funny.
Okay, so you said we were getting close. Is the character they're with not a character? It's a famous person. Is the famous person a musician?
Yes.
Oh,
Elton
Lord.
John.
No.
Noah, sometimes you say things and I'm like, oh my God, shut up. And sometimes you say things and it is the funniest thing I've ever heard.
Shawn Mendes.
No.
Am I closer though in like terms of like age and genre?
No.
Fuck.
Ed Sheeran.
No.
Are they a pop artist? Like
Mm,
modern?
They're modern, but their style isn't pop, I don't think.
Is
Are they
this
like-
person actually gay in real life?
No, but no, I
No,
can't say that.
but
No, but like they're
is it either of the members of Daft Punk?
no.
Are they rolling with the LGBT?
I don't think he is.
Okay, is it Sam Hunt?
Why?
No.
Just guessing.
Like, who's like,
Okay,
I'm
wait.
gonna.
Let's guess the Star Wars character. So the Star Wars character
It's
is
already an RPF that has Tom Hanks and Barack Obama. Okay, nobody is safe. Nobody's
Like,
on
okay,
the
so
table.
this person
Oh my God, Charlie Puth in Star Wars? That's crazy.
Is this character are they a bounty hunter?
No.
A clone?
No.
They're not human, and they're not. Are they force sensitive ordinarily?
No. But
Is it Road to the Hut?
No,
No.
I want to hear butt. What is the butt?
people like to think this character might be.
Is it Jar Jar?
Yeah, it's Jar Jar Binks.
Okay, so it's Jar Jar and then assorted male celebrity. Okay. Has the celebrity ever been in a boy band of any variety? Okay, wig. And they're a musician, right?
Yeah.
And it's another man?
Mm-hmm.
Is he someone funny?
Is it
Like,
Macklemore?
No, I wouldn't say he's funny
Can you tell us
ordinarily.
can you tell us what genre of music we're looking for? Do you know this person well enough to say?
is it John Mayer?
Well, I guess his stuff does kind of include pop, but it's like R&B,
Usher.
funk, soul, reggae, disco.
Is it Bruno
rock.
Mars? Wait.
Yeah.
Oh my god. That was a
And
joke.
the tag I left out is, does Bruno Mars is gay?
Oh no! I hate it
Jar Jar
here.
and Bruno.
Yeah.
POV, the members of Silk Sonic get into a polycule
Here,
with Jar
you
Jar
want the
Binks.
summary?
No, I'm so sorry. You know that post that's like, meanwhile, while you guys are getting ghosted, I'm with my 5'5" king. That is Jar Jar.
Okay, while we were guessing this, I didn't know what it was, and then we said Jar Jar, and then I started to think it might be the Bruno Mars one because someone has sent me this one before. So this, someone sent us this in the form, but someone has also sent this one to me before. So as soon as we guessed Jar Jar, I was like, no.
Do you guys
it
ever
can't
think that there will
be.
come a day where we approach singularity where we've covered every weird fic on AO3?
No, that's not possible.
No, because people will keep creating. But here's the summary. Jar Jar Binks is a Sith Lord and adoptive father to 68 children with his husband Bruno Mars. What happens when he brings home a new child?
No.
Okay, so
You're done.
69 was just the number of children. That
Yeah.
they had. It was not like the sexual act.
Do we
Yeah.
have any concept of how Ms. Barack Obama and Tom Hanks are involved in this?
Why'd you just misgender Barack Obama?
And okay, no, Ollie, why did you not ask why he misgendered Tom Hanks though?
I forgot to say who said the fic that I read. So thanks to Dr. Geekery on Tumblr.
So I hope you guys are ready for this fic. It actually has a similarity to Jess's fic, but I'm not going to say how. This one comes from Darth Your Mom Gay on Tumblr, and there's underscores between all of that. I will also say this is not like a main ship. This is a relationship. This is and these two are just chatting. Let me read you the tags. Character A and character B. Ezra Bridger, Karen Farrow, Hammerly. These two will give it away, so I won't say. Additional tags. Crack treated seriously. Alternate universe. Real world. Sort of. Someone please rescue these peeps. Character B says, bring home our blueberries. A different character who I didn't say, who's not in the ship, has wolf guards. Nobody loves character A as much as character B. Ezra being Ezra. Pyrondi is a firecracker. Seriously, don't stand between this girl and fruit. Ezra Bridger and character A, basement edition. The summary of this is 4 years after Lothal. This is going to give away who character A is, but that's okay. Character A and Ezra are locked in this other character who I didn't mention's basement. This is a little slice of life. It is inspired. It is inspired,
obviously,
by an interview. Yes.
And so it's a real person?
It is a real person. There's two real people in this.
David Filoni.
Dave Filoni is the one who has him trapped in his basement and has wolf guards. But he is not the other person.
So is the other person a Star Wars character? So the other person?
No, the other person's a real life person.
Is
So
it
this
a
is
man or a
Thrawn
woman?
and a man.
Timothy Zahn.
It's Timothy Zahn. It's Thrawn and Timothy Zahn, where I believe Timothy Zahn comes and rescues Thrawn and Ezra from Dave Filoni's basement. I am obsessed. This is iconic. This is everything. Yeah. It is called Life on the ISD Basement. And I'm obsessed with it.
She's Twitter wrote this.
Anyway, that is my fic. Thank you for playing this game with me.
Thank you for joining us for our High Republic Phase 1 wrap-up. In honor of Mission to Disaster's print release at the end of the High Republic, we're giving away a copy of the book, and to one lucky winner in the US only. I'm so sorry to our international listeners. You can check out our social media at RuPaul's Pod Race. We're on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook for details on how to enter. Because we like to promote Justina Ireland's work here. Our episodes usually drop on Sundays. For updates, Star Wars news, more cursed shit, you can follow us on social media at RuPaul's Pod Race, like I said before. And please make sure that you rate and review our show on Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, Spotify, or Overcast. It means a lot to us. Ollie, do you want to give them a little preview of what they're in for next week?
I do. Next week is going to be a very special episode. The girls who get it. The beef will be squashed. The beef is going to be ended. And that's all I will say on the matter.
Yeah, we have something very special planned for next week. Thank you for joining us. May the Force be with you. And don't criff it up.
Waka waka.
Waka waka.
Waka waka.
Waka waka.